Good evening and welcome back to the Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025 meeting, regular council meeting, and we are reconvening at 6:37. We have no public hearing tonight, and I don't believe we have any public comments that have been sent in, which brings us to item 6, delegations. Claudette, just to double check, we don't have a delegation tonight, but there may be one coming in February?
Yes, that is right, Your Worship. We have no registered delegations tonight.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to, oh yeah, sorry. Council does have a couple of motions. Thank you, Councillor Wagoner. Council has a couple of motions stemming from topics discussed during our closed meeting session. Councillor Peterson, then Councillor Wiley.
Thank you, Worship. I would move that Council appoint Sherry Royal to the Family Community Services Support Services Advisory Board for a term of 3 years ending October 31, 2027.
Thank you for that motion. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor? And that motion is carried. Deputy Mayor Wiley.
I have the next motion. I move that council direct administration to undertake a legal feasibility assessment of creating a physician incentive program to attract physicians to Strathmore. And if I could speak on that.
Sure.
Without giving away what we talked about in camera, I just am filled with so much gratitude to our administration. It seems to me they're always on the lookout for the best interests of people in town, and this is a really creative opportunity that they've come across, and I just really look forward to hearing more as this feasibility assessment comes in, so thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Sorry, second part to the motion?
My apologies. And the council further direct administration to bring a report back to council regarding the findings of that legal feasibility assessment, including the potential scope, methods, and next steps.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wiley. Is there discussion on that motion or the two motions? Seeing none, all in favor? That motion is carried. We move now to item 7. Oh my goodness, where have I been? Councillor Wagoner.
I move that council direct administration to draft a letter to the Honorable Mike Ellis, Deputy Premier of Alberta and Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Services, requesting exemption from establishing a regional policing committee in favor of establishing a municipal policing committee.
Thank you, and is there any discussion on that motion? Councillor Peterson.
Your Worship, I think that this is a reasoned motion, and I am in favor of it. And the reason is that it is a population-based study, and under 15,000, the population would be have the option of moving to a different kind of program. But once you're over 15,000, you can build your own municipal program. So we know that we're right on the borderline, we're right on the cusp of that, and we see it to be reasonable to have our own municipal program. And we're really grateful that our administration is undertaking that project on our behalf because the timeline is short. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motions? Motion? Seeing none, all in favor? I'm going to double check before I say anything. Any other motions that came out of the in camera? Okay, we can move now to item 7, consent agenda. Are there any items from the consent agenda list that council would like to see removed and discussed individually? And if not, I'm looking for a, thank you, Deputy Mayor Wiley.
I move that council adopt the recommendations of the following agenda reports by an omnibus motion. 8.1, council meeting minutes. 8.2, special council meeting minutes. 9.2, FCSS Advisory Board Grant Program. 11.2.1, Library Board Meeting Minutes. 11.2.2, Library Board Regular Meeting Minutes. 11.2.3, Library Board Minutes. 12.1, Letter from the Village of Hizar.
Thank you for that, and I'll call the question. Thank you. And Leanna, you're speaking to this?
Thank you, Your Worship. It's actually Seth.
Okay, thank you.
Can you see my screen okay?
We sure can.
Great, thank you for that. Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Seth Whitney. I'm the GIS specialist for the town of Strathmore. Today, I'd like to present a really exciting new initiative, the release of our public web-based property search map. This tool will provide our residents, businesses, and other stakeholders with easy access to property information, reducing the need for direct inquiries and empowering a self-service for our community. Additionally, I will briefly touch on the economic development dashboards, which are designed to provide real-time insights to our local business environment and support strategic planning. So what is the public property search web map? Well, it's an app that is user-friendly and a web-based map where users can search properties by various criteria like address, tax roll number, or even by zooming into the map, similar to Google Maps if you've used that. They can find important information like lot size, garbage day, and assessment summary. And all of this is available online 24/7 without the need to contact staff. Why release the public web map? Well, the tool brings multiple benefits. First, it reduces the number of calls and inquiries that staff need to respond to by allowing residents and businesses to get to the information themselves. Second, it provides faster access to property details, meeting the growing demand for transparency and convenience. It's especially useful for real estate agents, assessors, and residents who need quick access to this type of information. Some of the key features include searching for properties by address, tax roll, or even short legal. Users can click on a property to see information such as lot size, land use, and their assessment summary. Plus, users can measure distances and areas directly within the app. Security is our top priority, and sensitive information like contact details, like owner name, have been removed from the app. Now I'm going to provide a quick demo of the public property search app. I'll walk you through how to use it and highlight some key features along the way. So when you first go into the app, it asks you to agree to the above terms and conditions. This is a standard disclaimer before the user can enter the app. So I'll go ahead and I'll click on the checkbox here and go OK. Now I can search for a property 3 different ways: by address, by tax roll, or by short legal. So let's go ahead and search by tax roll. I'll deselect the address and short legal, and I'll enter a valid tax roll. Clicking on the magnifying glass and clicking the results. It automatically zooms to that parcel, highlights it, and you'll see the property information window on the right-hand side. If I want to go back to the map extents, I can click on this home button in the top left-hand corner. That brings me back to Strathmore. Now let's search by address. I'll type in a valid address. Again, clicking the magnifying glass, and it will zoom in to the location that I've specified. Lastly, I'm going to search by short legal, And you'll notice that it gives you a tip on how to do that. Plan block lots separated by semicolons. Now let's focus on the property window. The first part of the property window shows basic land title information. Short legal title number, provincial link number, and the tax roll number. It also shows lot area, and that's displayed in acres and hectares. A resident can also look up when their garbage pickup day is. For instance, with this property, it's Wednesday. Land use is also available, and you'll notice that there's a hyperlink here for the R1 code. If a user clicks on that hyperlink, it will bring them directly to the land use bylaw and the specific page having to do with R1. The municipal address is also listed, as you can see. And I can open up an assessment summary report. Notice that there are no owner name details. This has been vetted by our administration, and it is FOIP compliant. You'll also notice that I can see my annual property taxes, and this will show 2 years of property taxes. It has a link to the My Strathmore page as well. That gives you the overall assessment too. So now that we're done with the property window, let's explore some of the other tools that are available to us. I'm going to click on the map layer button, and let's go ahead and turn on the neighborhoods to get a better sense of where we are. I can do that by clicking on the I button. Let's go ahead and zoom in onto an area. And there's a lot of labels, dimensions, road right-of-ways. Let's go ahead and turn those off. And again, it's clicking that little I button, and you can see that they're turning off on the map. There's also a legend button, and that shows me the symbology of what's on my screen right now. There's also a base map button where you can turn on a number of different base maps. Let's switch that to topography. We have a grayscale map, OpenStreetMap, so many different base maps to choose from. The other thing that you can do, let's switch back to aerial imagery, is you can measure. So let's try measuring the width of this lot here. And it's biometric by default. Let's go ahead and measure the area of this lot. You see that I'm snapping on the edge of the vertex just for accuracy. And that concludes the demo part of the property app. So privacy and data security. So like I said before, we've made sure that all this was done in a secure and privacy conscious way. The data stays on the town's own servers, ensuring that we comply with FOIP policies. No sensitive information like emails or phone numbers is made public. And we've set up a collaboration between our internal servers and ArcGIS Online. So the public map interface is secure and can handle more website traffic. The data is refreshed automatically every 2 weeks to keep it up to date. What are some of the benefits to the town? Well, for the town, this means improved service delivery and reduced costs, as fewer people will need to call or visit in person to get the information they need. It also fosters greater transparency, helping build trust with the community. Lastly, this map supports better decision-making by providing easy access to important data for town planning and community engagement. We've designed our platform to be accessible on any device, whether it's a cell phone, tablet, or desktop computer. Our goal is to ensure that no one is left behind and everyone can access what they need in a way that works best for them. The next steps, we'll create a public communication plan to raise awareness and train residents on how to use the map. We're targeting a launch date of March 17th, and we will provide ongoing support and updates as needed. Before I wrap up, I just want to give a quick shout out to Andre Aloha. We've been working together to semi-automate the property management process in GIS using Python programming, and his collaboration has been very valuable. Now that we've covered the public property search map, I'd like to shift gears to focus on the economic development dashboards. The economic development team approached me and asked for a simple way to access key data on business licenses, development, and building permits. To meet that need, we developed these dashboards that help identify trends, allocate resources effectively, and support efforts to attract and retain businesses. These dashboards are critical for strategic planning and ensuring balanced growth in Strathmore. They improve decision-making and help us engage meaningfully with businesses and residents, fostering a resilient local economy. So this particular dashboard provides insights into business licenses. It's a powerful tool for visualizing trends through charts, helping to inform decisions and guide planning. Now, it's worth noting that this is an internal use only, as opposed to the public property search app that I just showed you. So our economic development team uses this, and you can see that I can interact with these charts by clicking on the business types, and those business types will automatically filter the list on the left-hand side. The development permits dashboard is now viewable on the internal GIS resource page. All the lots are highlighted in orange on the map, and I can filter by development permit type by interacting with the bar graph similar to the one that I showed you. And I can flip through the various development permits on this list here. Again, this tool provides valuable insight for the economic development team to track and analyze current and upcoming development activity in Strathmore. That concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Seth. Councillor Mitzner.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. So on your first presentation, is there an option for a zoning map? Someone's coming in and specifically looking for R3 property?
So what you can do is you can search your address, and within the property window, those details are available.
So only,
I'm
only property specific, not by zones, not by land use like zoning, R3, R1, R2, P1.
I'm glad you brought that up. Actually, it's a great question. So currently, the town uses a fee-based model for sharing data. However, transitioning to sort of a more open data approach is something a lot of municipalities are doing right now. And it would let us share more mapping data and foster sort of that transparency engagement that I was talking about. So my sort of view of it is if we transition to an open data environment that will be able to release a lot more mapping to the public.
Okay, my
But
second, oh, sorry. go
But
ahead.
certainly what you were saying is very doable. And we do have something like that internally currently. So it would just be a matter of the policy piece and releasing that to the public.
Okay, and my second question is, do we have a user-friendly spot when you pull up Town of Strathmore? You could just put in garbage and you know where you live. It will tell you what day, what district, without the public, the seniors, having to operate something like this?
Yes, 100%. So we still maintain those traditional PDF maps, and that's very important for us to continue that service as well, while also exploring some of the newer web-based technology.
So there
So
is
those-
somewhere on our website that I could just go in there and say garbage and put in Parkwood, and it'll tell me what day my garbage gets picked up?
There should be, yes, and I can certainly pass along a link
Thank you.
that shows that. Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, Councillor Mitzner. Seth, a quick question for you as far as the public web map with residences. I know you said something like something to the effect of if the public goes on it, they can't see the residents' owners' names.
That's
But,
correct.
yeah, thanks. Are the residents' owners' names available to our staff in this web map, as in planning, assessment, bylaw, RCMP staff? Can they find out the owners' names of properties?
Good question. So only if it's something that their job requires. So if they require to be able to see the owner names,
Okay.
then that information will be made available to them in the web map. But there's obviously different permission levels
Okay,
when it comes to that. So
okay,
we're staying FOIP compliant on that side of things.
okay. All right, thank you very much.
Problem.
Councillor Peterson.
Thanks, Your Worship. I have a list of pretty simplistic questions, so I can just run through the list and then let you loose with it. I think they're all pretty. Start with the first one, with regards to the map integration. I know you talk in the information that you gave to council, or that's in our agenda, about the accessibility of the GIS applications. Does it have other map integration that would be available? So, in association with the dashboard, I just wasn't too sure about that. I'm talking more about GPS, that kind of thing. My second question was, can you save your searches? And the next question was, will it provide trends to the public or only to our ActDev? I'm thinking more on the investment side. And is there an opportunity, will there be user reviews so that at some point you'll be able to gauge the effectiveness of the app? And my final question is, will there be an opportunity to add on additional resources or educational resources so that there could be an ECDEV or an economic advantage where there would be the logical invested businesses that may want to link on to the app? Those are all my questions, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. So to answer the one question about saved searches, it does not have that ability right now. In terms of, is there training available to the public for it? So we're going to be providing basic tutorials to staff and residents to ensure they're comfortable with the property search app. And sorry, there was a lot to unpack there. If you could.
If it had GPS capabilities, like map integration on it?
GPS capabilities, not on the property search app, but we do have in-house GPS capabilities at the town. The operations department uses a GPS receiver to collect new assets and also to do condition assessment on current assets in the field. In terms of integration for the property search app, I did sort of hint at the automation in the back end, which is sort of the more impressive thing that's happening with the app. To update those property parcels, we typically take a GIS person like me a week, but with that Python script that we wrote, we automated almost 95% of that task. So we're trying to work smarter with the resources that we have, and streamline things in a way that will make things more efficient here at the town.
Thank you. I really appreciate that aspect of it. One of the other questions I asked was, I know that internally we'll be able to look at trends on that small specific item. Is the public, is that accessible to the public as well?
That piece of it is not accessible, but I have our planning department is actually going to be releasing a dashboard that has permit information in it, and it's a self-serve thing that council can go in and look at what permits are out there at the moment and export the report. That eventually will be made public.
Well, and you'd be able to link that to your dashboard as well, I imagine, quite easily.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all pulling from the same database.
And
That's correct.
my last question, and I appreciate your patience, was to ask about educational resources with regards to, retail opportunities. So people with vested interest, could they advertise or pay for the privilege of linking onto the app for economic advantage? If there was mutual advantage, if that would be a possibility now or at some point in the future, and I want to thank you for the presentation. I like the, and my final question, final. So you developed this app. This is something that you've developed. So there's proprietary process around it.
Yeah, that's correct. So it's been developed with staff time, all with software that we already have in-house, and the integration piece, like I said, Andre and I worked on that. So that is all town of Strathmore proprietary work there.
That's something to be really proud of, and I assume that you'll be able to market it at some point. And so I really thank you for your patience. And just that last question on the educational resources, if people can link to it. But thank you very much, Your Worship.
Thank you for that. Thank you again, Seth, for your report. Wow, I'm having a tough night. Thank you for your report and your willingness and ability to answer the questions. Thank you as well to Andre and all the staff. We appreciate everything you folks have done for this. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We move now to item 10, bylaws, 10.1, 2025 operating expenditures, line of credit, borrowing bylaw number 25-01. Good evening, Riley.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. The bylaw in front of you is just an annual administrative requirement to ensure that we're complying with the Municipal Government Act, where council just has to formally approve any possible short-term borrowing for operations. The town has had a operating line of credit of 770 grand for a number of years. As far as I'm aware, we've never had to dip into the line, but it is a contingent response tool in the event that we need to use it. And that's kind of just why we bring it to you right at the start of the year, to get this in place in case we need it in an emergency kind of thing like that. It lets us respond a little quicker when needed. Other than that, that's really all I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions members of council have. Otherwise, thank you for your time on this.
Thank you, Riley. Deputy Mayor Wiley.
I have no questions. I'm aware of this annual event, so I'm ready with the motion. The council give first reading to bylaw number 25-01, being the 2025 operating expenditures line of credit borrowing bylaw.
Thank you. All in favor? That motion is carried.
I can keep going.
Sure.
The council gives second reading to bylaw number 25-01, being the 2025 operating expenditures line of credit borrowing bylaw.
Thank you for that motion. Now that we have a motion for second reading, is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor? That motion is carried.
I move the council give unanimous consent to proceed with the third and final reading of bylaw number 25-01, being the 2025 operating expenditures line of credit borrowing bylaw.
Thank you. All in favor? That motion is also carried.
With your permission, I'll finish it up.
You bet.
The council give third and final reading to bylaw number 25-01, being the 2025 operating expenditures line of credit borrowing bylaw.
Thank you. All in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you, Riley. We move now to 10.2, 2025 Supplementary Assessment Bylaw, number 25-02, which is on page 91.
Good evening, Your Worship and Council.
Good evening,
is our-
Liana.
So this is our annual bylaw that allows our appointed assessor, which is Wild Rose Assessment Services for the municipality, to determine value of new improvements added since December 31st of the previous year. With this, the assessor can assess improvements added to the land after December 31st conditions and the town can then collect property taxes on these partially developed lands and or buildings that are constructed throughout the year. Without this, a bylaw being passed, the town has no ability to assess or tax any incomplete parcels of land. So tonight we're here before you to get this annual bylaw passed.
Thank you very much, Liana. Any questions from council for Liana? Seeing none, Councilor Montgomery?
I will move that council give first reading to bylaw number 25-02, being the 2025 supplementary assessment bylaw.
Thank you. All in favor? The motion is carried.
I will move that council give second reading to bylaw number 25-02, being this 2025 supplementary assessment bylaw.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on that motion for second reading? Seeing none, all in favor? That motion is carried.
I will move that council give unanimous consent to proceed with third and final reading of bylaw number 25-02, being the 2025 supplementary assessment bylaw.
Thank you. All in favor? That motion is carried.
I'll move that council give third and final reading to bylaw number 25-02, being the 2025 supplementary assessment bylaw.
Thank you. All in favor? And that motion is also carried. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Liana. We move now to 11, councillor information and inquiries, 11.1. Whoa, sorry. Yeah, you're right. I was just wishful thinking. 10.3, 2025 Water Reservoir Borrowing Bylaw, number 25-03.
Thank you, Your Worship and members of council. Similar to the line of credit bylaw I spoke on 45 seconds ago, the water reservoir borrowing bylaw is an administrative requirement to make sure we're complying with the MGA. When council approved the 2025 to 34 capital budget on December 4th, the largest capital project was the Wildflower Water Reservoir upgrade in the amount of $5.45 million over 2 years, most of it this year, $150,000 in 2026, which was approved to be financed by debt sources. We recommended this and council approved it because the cost of these upgrades exceed what is available to draw from reserves or to fund with incoming or expected grants. Borrowing funds for this project will allow both taxpayers current and future to contribute to the cost of the water reservoir upgrades. Just for your information, the bylaw authorizes administration to obtain a loan at no higher than 5.5% annually on a 25-year term. Compared to what we're seeing today, the interest rate on a 25-year loan from the province is 5.28%. This kind of represents an annual debt servicing cost of $395,000 annually to the town on this loan, of which the funds to repay the loan must be levied on the taxpayers of the municipality. And I did just want to note too, in the report, the rates were a little lower. Just recently, the rates moved up from 5.02% to 5.28. So my apologies for the information on your reports being a little outdated already. As part of the MGA, administration must also advertise the borrowing and bring back any concerns or questions to you within 30 days of second and third reading next month. Similar to last time, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Otherwise, thank you for your time here.
Thank you, Riley. For the people watching at home or for the media, could you just confirm that this borrowing is already factored into the 2025 budget?
That's correct. The capital expenditure itself and the debt servicing on it is factored into the budget, correct?
Perfect. Thank you very much. Any further questions for Riley? Deputy Mayor Wiley.
It's probably not so much for Riley, but I would just like administration to just one more time let the public know just a 2-3 sentence summary of what it is that we're planning to do with the Wildflower Water Reservoir. Yeah, I'm apologizing for putting you on the spot here. I'm very excited about this. I know that water is a scarce resource. Obviously, this is the thing that we most need to be focusing our attentions on, but just for people at home.
Jamie?
Through the chair, if you could just repeat the question quickly.
Yeah, just a really quick summary for the people at home about exactly what we're planning to do with the Wildflower Water Reservoir borrowing.
Essentially, we're two things. We're decommissioning the Brentwood Reservoir. We're also expanding and completing the Wildflower Reservoir, and it's a substantial capital project.
Thank you.
Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Worship. So you mentioned, Riley, that we are looking at a different interest rate now. And so how does that impact our budget now?
As of right now, we budgeted it at that
2.7, 2.07.
up to 5.5%. We kind of do a
So you already accommodated, that's my
and
my
that's
question.
exactly.
Yeah.
We're also doing the borrowing in a way that we don't have to repay principal in 2025. We're
Right.
expecting to draw in late summer, early fall based on the timing of construction. So most of the expense principal we're going to start seeing in 2026.
Yeah.
Funds brought to us in 2025.
Thank you so much.
You
That's
bet.
exactly what I wanted to know.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Councillor Montgomery?
Just a motion.
Thank you.
I will move that council give first reading to bylaw number 25-03, being the 2025 Water Reservoir Borrowing Bylaw. And that council direct administration to advertise bylaw number 25-03 prior to second reading.
Thank you. All in favor? And that motion is carried. Thank you, Riley. Now I can move on to item 11, councillor information and inquiries. 11.1, questions between councillors and/or council statements. Councillor Montgomery.
Thank you. I'm speaking today about something that happened at the end of the November 20th council meeting. Councillor Peterson, you made a statement regarding a workforce study that was done by Community Futures, a local group. And that statement has actually caused a bit of problems and confusion for people in the community and in the region. And a letter was sent on behalf of the Community Futures Board to council and to Councillor Peterson, highlighting a number of the errors in your statement. And you were asked to retract that statement, and I'm wondering if you will take this opportunity to do that.
Your Worship? with your
Councillor
permission?
Peterson?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. So I'm really sorry that it caused confusion. I think initially, Councillor Montgomery, the confusion was mine. This stemmed from me trying to wend my way through the actual report. And when I was back checking the report information for my own edification, I ran into a lot of things that really truly confused me. And so at that point in time, I went to our administration and I asked if I could, if it would be possible for them to access the bibliography for the paper that was done, or to ask for a reference list so that I could go through and look at the information that was provided. So at the time, when administration came back, they said that Community Futures Wild Rose had declined to provide the reference list or the bibliography. So they didn't say that they didn't have one, they just said that they declined to provide it. So I found that myself very, very confusing, Councillor Montgomery. And so when I brought it forth to council, it was in no way to malign the authors of the report or to denigrate the information in the report or to denigrate anyone who had any part in creating that report. My only desire was to look into the information that was provided in a good way. And so when Mrs. Link provided the letter to express their displeasure with my comments, she did say that the article was peer-reviewed, and I think she said evidence-based in that letter. So that would indicate to me that there is a bibliography and a reference list. And so for me, that would clear up a lot of confusion, and then I could ascertain whether or not I had any questions going further. So I guess I would ask my administration, because as our community paid for a portion of that report, if they're able to secure that peer-reviewed and evidence-based information that she talked about, I think that would be extremely helpful for all of us.
Thank you. Councillor Peterson, or Councillor Montgomery?
Thank you. So the issue wasn't just that you were confused about the report. Just so everybody knows, the report actually was cited throughout the report. It's true there was no bibliography attached at the end, but the report, all of the data in the report was actually cited at the point that the data was actually in the report. So you would have to overlook the actual citations that were attached to the data itself in order to conclude that there was no citation. It's possible that they said that they couldn't or wouldn't provide a bibliography, but that was because, as I mentioned, the information was actually cited throughout the document for anybody to go and kind of cross-check it. But the problem isn't just your confusion. The problem is that you made a number of erroneous statements that did malign the report and the authors and caused it to be cast in a negative light. And so, again, I will ask if you want to retract the entirety of your comments, not just speak to your confusion. I'm asking you if you would like to retract the entirety of your comments.
So, Councillor Montgomery, if I might, Your Worship. So I would just say that I made every effort to go through the citations. And so I tried very diligently to follow the citations, but the citations weren't done according to the norms for peer-reviewed evidence-based papers. And so what happened, Councillor Montgomery, when I followed through on the citations, and I did it diligently, and I followed through on the citations, more than one source would come up. And I don't say this to malign or demean. It was extremely frustrating and confusing to try to glean the information appropriately. So when people do peer-reviewed and evidence-based papers, they have a requirement to provide really in-depth citations, and those citations include names and authors, page numbers, articles, so that they're, and usually website information that you can click on. And so that's what I was seeking. And so I was shocked that we couldn't access that, something that we paid for, that we couldn't access that. So that would still be my desire, Councillor Montgomery, that as our member on Wild Rose, that you would do everything in your power to try to access that, and I don't ask it lightly. And I don't want to sound predisposed to my background, but this is my wheelhouse. I have a lot of experience and graduate study in interdisciplinary research. That is my background. So when I was really pleased in her letter that Mrs. Link wrote, when she said it was peer-reviewed and evidence-based, so that told me that maybe it was just a mistake, and maybe they just didn't understand what I was asking for. So I think that's where I'd like to start, Councillor Montgomery. At this point in time, I'm not prepared to answer your question, but having had that, then I would definitely make every effort to do my due diligence and see where that takes us.
Thank you. So I'm going to actually read your statement, and I'm going to go through it piece by piece, and I'm going to talk about all of the ways in which it was wrong for you to say those things. And you can correct me if you feel like I'm misquoting you. So you said, quote, "I'll try to be brief. A few months ago, we received a report done in conjunction with Community Futures Wild Rose regarding the Rural Renewal Program." So the error in your statement there is this statement conflates the Community Futures Wild Rose Workforce final report with a report focused solely on the Rural Renewal Program, which misrepresents the scope and purpose of the Workforce final report. While the rural renewal stream is referenced as one of several potential solutions to labor shortages, the workforce report addresses a broader range of workforce challenges in the region, including skilled and general labor deficits, housing affordability, HR support for small businesses, and regional recruitment strategies. So you were wrong. It was not just about the Rural Renewal Program.
So I'll respond to that. You're absolutely right,
yes, go
Councillor
ahead.
Montgomery. I did respond, but, and that was the report.
I'm sorry. Excuse
no,
me,
just a
Your
minute.
Worship. I'm not
So-
asking a question at this
So,
point, so
but
I'm
you asked,
actually
you said I could
making a
respond.
statement.
You said I could respond, Councillor
I'm making a
Montgomery, and so
statement
I'm
right
going
now,
to
so
make a
thank you.
statement. And so in saying that,
Point of order, Your
I
Worship.
absolutely,
I'm under the understanding that you're going to go point by point and let her respond. Is that
No,
not-
no, I'm
You don't want to?
I'm concluded my questions. She said she will not retract. That was my question. So now I'm going through and
He said I could respond.
correcting the record. I made a mistake there. I'm sorry.
so he did say I could respond, Your Worship.
Well,
and so
I
in
misspoke. I was
that-
trying
so
to be
he said-
trying to be polite, and
Yeah,
I
so that's
actually
good.
don't want you to
Okay, well,
interrupt this.
I do,
Thank you.
I'm not interrupting you.
You're
Your
If
welcome.
you
Worship.
You're
said-
welcome to make a statement afterwards.
If you said she could respond,
And I'd like to
and
respond
she
timely.
responds to your points, I don't understand why it's
I'm making it,
problematic.
because this is council statement time, I asked a question, I asked her to
And
retract
question.
it. And
It's
so
council-
I'm retracting my permission for her to respond. If she would like to respond in her own time to this, that's fine.
It's questions between councilors and council statements. So
Council statements,
If you ask
yes.
a question and say. that
She
could-
answered the question. This is not a question here. I'm reading this letter
This
now.
is new information now, Your Worship. Or not new, but it's information I don't have in front of me at this point. So that's why it's important to respond.
No, that's fine. You can respond afterwards.
Because
Thank you.
Councillor Montgomery is absolutely correct in when he states that the information was all in there, but the only portion that I had difficulty with was the ones that I was trying to cite. And so he's correct, I might not have been clear in it, but it was not a deliberate attempt to
How
malign.
does council feel? If Councilor Montgomery is going to go to each of her statements she made in that meeting, do we, as a council, feel that she should be able to respond to each one? Councilor Mitzner?
I believe that Councillor Peterson has indicated until she gets the information that she requested, she's not prepared to go forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so, and as I said, this is a statement. Anybody is free to speak, please, afterwards. I would love to just be given time uninterrupted to speak in this chamber. Can I have that, please?
You can, and then I have a question for you when you're all done everything.
Thank you. So after that first statement that you made an immediate statement after that. You said, "I am cognizant of the fact that now both federally and provincially legislation has changed that would have shifted that make the report," and this is, I'm reading this as you said it, so if it's confusing, it's the way you wrote it, or said it, sorry. legislation has changed that would have shifted that make the report or the idea of the report far less relevant, if indeed it is relevant at all. So the problem with that statement, and the reason why it's wrong, is the claim that legislative changes render the report irrelevant overlooks its focus on addressing persistent structural workforce challenges in the Community Futures Wildrose region. The report highlights critical issues such as labor shortages, housing affordability, and gaps in HR support for small businesses, which remain unaffected by shifts in legislation. Its locally tailored recommendations, like leveraging the rural renewal stream and offering targeted HR training, provide practical strategies adaptable to evolving policies. Additionally, the report's evidence-based approach ensures that it aligns with actionable solutions to implement at the regional level. Far from being outdated, the report remains a crucial tool for addressing the Community Futures Wildrose region's ongoing economic and labor market needs. Immediately after that statement, you said, but the reason I am bringing it forward is that when I read the report and reread the report, several times I noticed what appeared to be discrepancies in the report, so I was uncertain. The Community Futures Wildrose Workforce Final Report is grounded in robust data and extensive stakeholder engagement, with its findings supported by sources like Statistics Canada and regional economic modeling. Any perceived discrepancies could be clarified by referencing the detailed data and methodologies provided within the report, which were carefully analyzed to ensure accuracy and relevance to the Community Futures Wildrose region. Immediately after your statement, previous statement there, you said, so I asked administration if it would be possible to provide a reference list or a bibliography for the report. Administration kindly looked into it and reported back to me that the authors of the report had declined to bring forward a bibliography or a reference list. Reference, and the answer to this is references are provided with the Community Futures Wildrose Workforce Final Report, even if they are not compiled in a formal bibliography. The report cites sources such as Statistics Canada, IBIS World Reports, and the Alberta Major Projects Database throughout its sections to support its data and insights. The report provides a footnote for each point of origin on the corresponding page. This approach integrates references directly into the text, ensuring that the report's findings are evidence-based and verifiable. The request was declined as the references were already included in the report. Following that comment, you said, but then when I had some questions from the same people in the community that had come forward here regarding it, I went back and read it again and tried to follow up with the limited references and limited citations that were made to see if I could find the relevant information, and all it did for me was muddy the waters even more. The response to you would be, the Community Futures Wildrose Workforce Final Report provides clear and relevant data throughout, referencing credible sources directly within each section. While the report may not have a formal reference list, the sources used are embedded in the content, and any questions can be addressed by examining the detailed economic and demographic analysis, which is based on verifiable and up-to-date data. If further clarification is needed, the report's methodologies and findings can be revisited to ensure full understanding. Following your previous comment, you said, what I want to say is that in the future, and that when we bring in or are co-authors on reports, or we put funding forward for data-based reports, it's pretty important to have traceability, because a bibliography allows people to trace the origins of the data and use the information to check the credibility of the information. Response to you would be, while a formal bibliography may not be included, the Community Futures Wildrose Workforce Final Report ensures traceability by embedding references throughout the document, citing reliable sources within the sections. This approach maintains transparency and credibility, allowing readers to trace the origins of the data and verify its accuracy without needing a separate bibliography. Additionally, the report's methodologies are detailed, ensuring that the data's integrity can be easily assessed and cross-checked. You said, when a report makes specific claims or conclusions, but there's no bibliography, it's just impossible to try to determine that whole idea of credibility. These and this is the response back to you, these references are integrated directly into the sections, ensuring transparency and credibility. The report's conclusions are based on robust, evidence-backed analysis, and the sources used are readily identifiable within the text, allowing readers to assess the credibility and validity of the information without the need for a separate bibliography. And when it comes to credibility related to bibliographies, you know, because it sounds like based on your statement there that you're questioning the credibility of the report because there's no bibliography. And I asked you about this before. So you have been using a study that was done, I think in 2019, related to seniors' housing needs in the community. And you've been using that as kind of the need, to show the need for seniors' housing in the region.
You're getting into a different topic here,
I'm
you know?
making
You're
I'm making a statement. Thank you
No.
very much.
Yeah, but you're tying what you want from her into something else that's not on the same topic. So I thought you were focused on her comments regarding the Community Futures report.
I'm gonna have to start over if I'm gonna keep getting interrupted here. So anyways, as I mentioned, you have been using the seniors housing needs assessment for years now to highlight the need for seniors housing in the region.
So I'm going to rule
I
that
looked
out
at that
of order.
report.
I'm going to rule that out of order
And sorry, what is,
because
what
I
is,
want you to focus on your questioning of what you want from her regarding the Community
I'm allowed to, this
Futures
is my
report.
statement time. I'm allowed to say whatever. I can read a
You
poem
can say
I wrote.
whatever you
I can
want?
read a poem, I can read a song, I can sit here and say whatever I like. I'm just gonna point out that the needs assessment that Councillor Peterson has been using to prove the need for seniors housing in the region for years now has no bibliography. I asked Councillor Peterson for a bibliography, and she actually declined to provide one. Now, the next comment that Councillor Peterson made in her statement on November 20th was, I'm not asking for any further action simply because I don't believe looking at when I looked at the legislation today that it is relevant anymore. The response to you is, the Community Futures Wildrose Workforce Final Report remains highly relevant despite recent legislative changes as it addresses longstanding workforce challenges that transcend shifts in policy. The councillor's position is yours, Councillor Peterson, your position is concerning. Issues like skilled labor shortages, housing affordability, and HR, human resource support for small businesses are persistent problems in the Community Futures Wildrose region that will continue to require strategic solutions regardless of changes in legislation. The report provides a comprehensive, evidence-based framework for addressing these challenges, making it a valuable resource for shaping regional workforce strategies moving forward. And finally, the Community Futures Wildrose Workforce Final Report is grounded in thorough research and data from credible sources, offering actionable insights into the region's workforce challenges. Rather than focusing on frustrations, it might be more productive to engage with the report's findings and recommendations, which provide clear strategies for addressing long-standing issues like labor shortages and housing affordability. This approach could help channel concerns into constructive discussions about improving the region's workforce development. In addition, I would like to highlight that Community Futures Wildrose has been a proud contributor to the local economy for 35 years. Over this time, Community Futures has invested over $14 million into small businesses in the town of Strathmore. This significant contribution has played and that's not money they get from the town of Strathmore, just to be clear. This significant contribution has played a vital role in fostering local growth, and Community Futures has consistently worked well with the town of Strathmore to support economic development and workforce initiatives. They are committed to continuing this positive partnership and strengthening our region's economy. And again, I would respectfully request that you publicly retract all of the comments I just read, as they have been demonstrated, I believe, to be erroneous, and they are negative, unnecessarily negative towards the report and the proponents of the report, and have caused undue consternation within the region and with partners in the region. So thank you very much for your time, Council.
Thank you. Councillor Peterson, you have,
You said you had a question first, Your Worship.
oh,
I'm
no, that
prepared
can
for
come at the very,
Yeah,
it's actually
yeah.
part of something
Yeah.
later. My
Yeah.
question to you is, are you willing, interested in retracting any of your statements?
So Your Worship, I'll go back to Councillor Montgomery, and I feel really bad that they've taken all of this time to do this. And, you know, in terms of relevancy or not, I'm unable to know whether the report is relevant because even though I tried very diligently, I could not trace the sources. And as I said before, I have a master's degree in interdisciplinary research. If I can't do it, because I didn't have a full bibliography, I think it would be hard for anyone. And so, I feel bad that their feelings were hurt. That was never my intention. But I still would need to see the fullness of that in order to be able to find the information that I was seeking. And just like Councillor Montgomery is noting tonight, that he has the right to make statements in this council chamber, so does everyone sitting behind this table. And no one in this council said that this was someone else's opinion, that these were my words, and the opinions that were spoken in this were mine, and for me, it was crucial to have the fullness of the bibliography. So I do lots of research today. When I present research that I'm compelled to do or that I'm contracted to do, I have to make sure that I provide an APA 7 or a Chicago Rules of Bibliography according to any kind of paper that would be written that would be considered peer-reviewed. There is a very, very distinct element around that. So that was my issue in trying to source out the information. I wasn't questioning the credibility of the paper or the relevance of the sources that they use, and I realized that it was cited. It just wasn't cited according to processes that I could suss out the information that I needed. And so detailed methodologies were used. I'm sure that they were. They just weren't cited. And so that was my only point in that whole statement. And so, in terms of clear and relevant data, how would I know that? Because I just certainly wasn't able to have the bibliography. And I think if we had the bibliography in front of us, there wouldn't be an issue. There wouldn't be an issue. And because then if I had concerns, if I had real concerns about the relevance of the paper, then I could have brought them forward. At this point in time, I don't know whether they exist or they don't exist. But in my opinion, I believe that on point 6 of Councillor Montgomery's statements, they weren't relevant to my needs and to the needs that I had to understand this paper. It's not to say that they might not be relevant to lots of other people. I see changes, there's been significant changes in the legislation around immigration, and we're seeing it even more, and now the pressures with the new election, we're going to see even more changes. So for me, and what I was looking to discover from this paper, I wasn't able to glean that information from it. And so I have never, ever demeaned the work of Community Futures. I was questioning our town of Strathmore contributing funds to a research work and not being able to access the bibliography for that. So I guess, I'd ask administration, without, and you can certainly decline to answer, but, I was wondering if any explanation was given to you when you asked the question about why you couldn't access a bibliography that you had paid for.
I don't
CAO
recall.
Scoble?
Yeah, so I don't recall exactly. I didn't ask for it directly. It was through a member of administration, and the feedback was that they did not wish to provide it. So, I can't provide any further information on that.
So in my understanding, whenever, in all of my time on council, whenever we've had detailed data, research reports come forward, we've always seen that fulsome access to bibliography, and certainly when we've paid for it, whenever we've asked, we've gotten additional information as requested. So that would be my my ask going forward, and then I guess we could consider further.
Councillor Montgomery?
Thank you. Just a couple of points. So one point is that I think it's pretty disrespectful to characterize this as hurt feelings. There was a number of, well, the entire statement, I just went through the entire statement, and every single bit of it was wrong. And I'll point out again for the public or anybody that's watching this that Councillor Peterson has had no problem flogging a seniors housing needs assessment for the past 5 years that has no bibliography. There's no bibliography in there. I asked for it. She declined to provide it. And we will talk about credibility here for a second, okay? So Councillor Peterson just said that she was not, in her statement, that she was not questioning the credibility of the report, okay? So, and so Councillor Peterson is making that statement. That is the truth that Councillor Peterson is putting out there right now, is that she did not question the credibility of the report. I'm going to read a quote that Councillor Peterson made in her statement, and that is, quote, "When a report makes specific claims or conclusions, but there's no bibliography, it's just impossible to try to determine that whole idea of credibility." So I will leave it with that. You can conclude for yourself whether or not Councillor Peterson's truth when she just said, I did not question the credibility, when I just read her words there where she questions the credibility of the report in her November 20th statement. I think it's disrespectful for you to have made any of these comments. There was, you say that they were just your opinion. What was the point of your opinion besides to make a bunch of wrong statements that have caused consternation and issues for people in the region? There was no point, apparently, except to be wrong and make a bunch of wrong statements about a report that you apparently did not understand. You didn't come to me and ask for any information about the report, me being the board member, the council member that represents the council on that board. You could have asked me, you didn't. You didn't reach out to the Community Futures themselves to ask for clarification on the report. Instead, you just made a statement that was filled with a bunch of wrong, erroneous points, questioning the credibility, and even pointing out, as I said, that because there's no bibliography attached, therefore there's problems with the report, even though it was cited all the way through. Again, even though you've been flogging a report for the past 5 years that has no bibliography, and yet I've never once heard you say, you guys, take this with a grain of salt because there's no bibliography attached. Let's just, take it for what it is. Thank you very much.
Councillor Montgomery, I'm sorry you're upset. And I understand that there is maybe a deficit of understanding, because when I was speaking to credibility, I was speaking in a general sense of what it means in the field of research to be credible, not whether or not this report is credible. How would you understand credibility in a peer-reviewed, evidence-based report without a bibliography? That's what I was stating. And so as far as being wrong, Councillor Montgomery, I appreciate that you and I disagree on many, many things, and you often think that I am wrong, and I accept that that's your right to believe that, but it is definitely your opinion. And Councillor Montgomery, in terms of, of research, when you're doing research, there's a big difference between doing a data-referenced, evidence-based, peer-reviewed paper and doing a needs assessment. So a needs assessment is about methodology. And so methodology is, and you included, there's methodology in this report that Wildrose provided, and that's one part of it. But there is no bibliography. in terms of the needs assessment that was done for the Housing Authority, there is robust methodology, and that's what is required in the field of research for needs assessment. I don't expect that that's necessarily general knowledge. That's why we contract professionals to do the work. And so in all of that, Your Worship, I'd just like to say that I think that Wild Rose has done a great job in our community. And Councillor Montgomery is very correct. I did not come to him and ask him for the bibliography, as administration pointed out. They sent somebody from our staff to ask, and so perhaps that was erroneous of me. But I'm asking now, Your Worship, if Councillor Montgomery could provide that peer-reviewed, evidence-based bibliography, I'd be incredibly grateful.
Thank you. Any other comments? My only question, which I've been meaning to ask, is Councillor Montgomery, is there a reason why you have never brought us a report, a regular report on your work with Community Futures? We don't see monthly reports. We got the financial statement and the annual report, but that's been the extent of it.
So like other members of council who are on committees or boards, they submit minutes from meetings. I submit the agenda, which includes the minutes from the meetings. And you can check your email, in fact, and you will see that there has been emails sent with regards to Community Futures. You can check previous agendas.
If that's the case, I'll apologize. I haven't seen them in my emails.
It's been printed in the agenda, in fact, the council meeting agenda. And I've even said, hey, if anybody has any questions, about these, submissions, please let me know. And I have never received a single question. I'm happy to answer questions or shed light on anything that Community Futures is doing. They do a lot of amazing work in the community. As I mentioned, they've basically taken $1 million of seed money from 35 years ago and turned it into I think about $35 million in the region is what they've actually loaned that out as. And they have either helped start or helped grow many businesses in the community, and I'm more than happy to share that and to spread the word and to get that information out. And if you have any questions about Community Futures or about the activities that they do, I'm absolutely happy to speak on that or to provide that information. If I don't have the information, I will talk to somebody that does with Community Futures, and I would be happy to get you that information. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'll check my emails, and if I'm wrong, I'll definitely apologize to you. I just don't remember seeing Community Futures emails with minutes. Thank you. So we move now to 11.3 question and answer period. We've done some of that. Anything else? Administrative inquiries, I don't believe we have any. And I don't believe we have any notices of motion. So I will adjourn this meeting at 7:50.